Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Came Out the Refrigerator podcast. I am your narrator, Waken 314. And today is going to be a little different style. Today, instead of our normal either poetry or affirmations or famous quotes, it will be a short story. This short story was inspired by my old mentor and leader who signed up as a subscriber on the channel. It was a pleasant surprise and it brought a lot of levity and laughter to my heart. Um, Today, as always, I'm accompanied by my good compatriot, Whitewell Willie, and we are going to read this selection, A Pleasant Surprise by Peter Goodrich. So let's get started. After a long bout with Parkinson's, my grandmother had passed, and as a pleasant surprise, I was in the will. I had inherited her car, and the ghost that came in the car. That's right, Grandma's car was haunted. Her 1980 Chevy Citation was haunted. I was surprised in so many ways. When I first turned the key, I didn't think the thing would come even start, let alone be haunted. It was an aged hunk of junk and hadn't seen much use in the past 20 years. And then when I saw the little figure creeping across the dash, I started to wonder if this was why she chose to stop driving it, and not because of the glaucoma. I was fiddling with the radio, trying to find something that wasn't static when it came. It was tiny, the size of my hand. It was the classic ghost, literally, the classic ghost. And a little white sheet, a handkerchief really, with tiny holes where the eyes and mouth would be. I couldn't see any feet beneath the hem of the shroud, but it seemed to have tiny little hands, poking up as it elevated towards me. And it came drifting along. It was making a little ethereal woo sound at me. It was freaking adorable. I mean, come on. It was like a kindergarten Halloween decoration that come to life and came to visit. It was so little. It was smaller than the rat I had when I was in college. It was smaller than my breakfast sandwich. I wanted to pet it. I suppose in retrospect, yeah, I should have been a little bit more respectful. Maybe taking it a little bit more seriously, seeing visible proof of the afterlife, actual confirmation of existence after death. Well, that's serious stuff, and one would think deserved more respect than the delirious giggle I wasn't holding back. I think even the little ghost was actually taken back by this. It stopped mid-woo and kind of stared at me. It drifted in place, bobbing like a floater in the corner of your eye. And there I sat, snickering and crouched back against the driver's side door of the old Citation. The car still smelled like Vicks and old menthol cigarettes, the defining sense of my dear old grandma. Was this Grandpa? Maybe. Could it be? My mind raced. Grandma never spoke much of her ex-husband, just that he was a son of a gun and that he had gotten his just desserts. Did his just desserts involve being murdered and cursed to haunt a handkerchief on his jilted wife's dashboard? But then I remembered Mom saying that her dad had just jumped ship and moved to Iowa, where he died in 1979. So my theory was obviously sunk. I peered at the little thing, static from the dusty old radio, an idle buzz in the back of my mind. The ghost just bobbled in the warm air beneath the windshield, occasionally emitting a little woo at me. I didn't even think it was trying to scare me anymore. Then a much troubling idea occurred to me. What if this was my grandmother? Oh, now that's a terrible thought. I couldn't think of a worse fate than being doomed to spend the rest of eternity haunting the interior of a mid-80s compact. And worse, if this was my grandmother's spirit, then I'd feel especially guilty taking the citation to the junkyard to sell for parts. I had to know. I sat and thought for a moment, then it came to a resolution. I was going to see exactly who or was this was really. I sat in the driver's seat. I steeled myself. I reached out toward the little ghost with my fingers trembling. I won't lie to you, I was terrified. At first I thought the whole thing was kind of funny. This little cutesy ghost the size of half a donut. But the prospect of what could be under that little white sheet that scared the mess out of me. I wouldn't want to see my undead grandma pale and shrunken and horribly shriveled after death. I wanted grandma to be in heaven with great Uncle Al and all of her dogs and her one cat that I had liked. As I slowly reached out my shaking hand, it actually reached out to me a little bit. I was startled. It snatched my hand back, but I focused and mentally pushed my hand forward again. I had to know. I yanked at the little white sheet with my eyes shut tight, and after a second I slowly eased them open so I could see what it was. I didn't know the guy. I ended up making $400 at the junkyard, which was another pleasant surprise. Um, I am going to always put the link to this story in the description. You can't actually use the link to click on it, but you can use the link to see where the story is. This was A Pleasant Surprise by Peter Goodrich. Thank you. And as always, have a blessed day and have a blessed morning.